On my birthday, I wanted to tell him I was pregnant. Instead, he gave me a letter. You're a bore. I deserve fun. Then he laughed loud and walked out of the cafe. Everyone stared. I didn't cry. I just placed a hand on my belly. Because I knew something he didn't. The plan had already started. I was about to tell him I was pregnant when he handed me a gift bag and said, "Open this first. It's from all of us." My name is Melanie, I'm 31, and I work in product design for a retail brand in Seattle. That day, my birthday, I had a simple plan, a small celebration at a cozy coffee shop near the waterfront, then take Ryan aside and tell him the truth. That we were going to be parents. That his life was about to change. I wore my favorite soft blue sweater. The one he used to say made me look peaceful. I even curled my hair, though the rain in Seattle always fights back. The cafe smelled like warm cinnamon and sea air. My coworkers, some of his friends, even his new colleague Savannah, were all there. I had a lump in my throat, but it was from nerves. Hope. Maybe even joy. Then he gave me the bag. A white paper bag with gold tissue. Inside was a folded letter and a pair of used concert tickets. I laughed awkwardly. Is this a joke? He smiled not kindly. Read it out loud, he said. Come on, it's the big moment. So I did. Melanie, I'm leaving. You are a dullness. I deserve to explode. That was it. That was the gift. There was a long silence. Then Ryan let out a sharp, awful laugh, like he was proud of it. He clapped a hand on the shoulder of someone next to him and said, "Cheers, everyone," and walked out. Just like that. No goodbye. No explanation. Just a public execution in front of cappuccinos and smiling balloons. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there, holding that letter like it might vanish if I stared hard enough. My fingertips were shaking. My heartbeat filled my ears. The people around me didn't know whether to look away or pretend it didn't happen. But I wasn't shocked. Not really. Because I already knew about Savannah. And I was already done waiting for him to grow up. After the party, I walked home alone with a slice of untouched cake in a cardboard box and a baby inside me who deserved better than this beginning. The city buzzed around me, couples laughing under umbrellas, cars hissing on the wet street. My legs moved on autopilot. It was raining again, of course. Seattle never lets the sky stay dry when your heart breaks. When I got home, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark, just me and the hum of the refrigerator. My hands still smelled faintly of vanilla frosting and that stupid party balloon dye. My phone was silent. No apologies. No messages. Just a screenshot of that letter in my head, over and over. You are a dullness. I whispered to the empty room, you're not even original. The silence answered back. I let the tears come then. Not loud sobs, just slow, tired streams that didn't ask permission. I cried because I had held on to him longer than he deserved. I cried because I'd spent so long blaming myself for the distance he created. I cried because the baby, our baby, would never know the version of him I once believed in. Then came the knock. I wiped my face with my sleeve and opened the door a crack. Tina stood there, mascara already smeared and a takeout bag in hand. I saw his post, she said. That smug picture from the dock with his friends. No you. No explanation. She didn't wait for permission. She stepped inside, kicked off her boots, and hugged me so hard I dropped the cake box. Tina had always been the friend who saw through the surface. She was the first person to tell me Ryan was charming but cruel. The first to say he doesn't want a partner. He wants a mirror. That night she stayed over. We curled up on the couch under the ugly knit blanket my mom gave me. Tina poured wine for herself and ginger tea for me. You don't have to talk, she said. But you do have to stop protecting him. Something inside me cracked. Not from pain but from release. Like when an old blister finally breaks and your skin can breathe again. I think I'm pregnant, I whispered. She blinked. Wait. Think. No. I know. I haven't told anyone yet. Tina stared at me. Her eyes didn't fill with pity. They filled with fury. That narcissistic bastard, she said. You were going to tell him tonight, weren't you? I nodded. Right before the letter. There was a long pause. Then she stood up and said the 6 words that flipped a switch in me. Okay. Then we make a plan. That was the night I stopped being the quiet girl sitting in the wreckage and started becoming the woman building her escape route. We made lists. Real ones. Legal aid consultations, password changes, financial backups. I logged into our shared account and downloaded every transaction. I already suspected he was hiding income from a freelance gig, now I was certain. I screenshotted everything. I didn't scream. I didn't key his car. I just quietly collected facts like ammunition. The next morning, I booked a therapy appointment. I started looking at OB/GYNs. I texted my boss to ask about a flexible schedule for personal health reasons. She didn't even hesitate, just said, "We've got you. Take what you need." I didn't text Ryan. I didn't say a word. Let him enjoy his explosion. Let him set fire to the life we built. Because I wasn't burning. I was sharpening. And then came the part one didn't expect. 3 days later, Ryan showed up to collect his stuff. He didn't knock first. Just waltzed in with his entitled air and a duffel bag slung over his shoulder like he was some misunderstood rock star. He looked around like the place was suddenly too small for him. "Where's my gaming chair?" he asked. Tina stepped forward. She was already there, waiting. Beside her was her brother, Marcus, retired Marine, built like a statue with eyes that don't blink unless necessary. Ryan faltered. Tina handed him a cardboard box. "Your essentials. Everything else is being held until Melanie speaks with her lawyer." "You're joking," Ryan said, forcing a laugh. "Mel, seriously?" I stayed seated at the dining table, writing in a notebook. I didn't even look up. "I'm not leaving," I said calmly. "I'm not running. You did enough of that for both of us." He stood there for a beat, stunned. Like he couldn't process that I wasn't begging. "Is this because of Savannah?" he asked. "She told you, didn't she?" I looked up then, eyes dry and clear. "No. You told me. Every time you lied. Every time you left me to guess what I did wrong. Every time you needed me small so you could feel big." He opened his mouth, but Marcus took a step forward. That shut him up. Ryan left with the box. He didn't even say goodbye this time. I didn't tell anyone about the baby for another 4 weeks. Not even my mother. Some mornings I'd sit on the bathroom floor in my robe, legs pulled up to my chest, whispering to the baby growing inside me like a secret. "You're not a mistake. You're not his. You're mine." At work, I smiled. Answered emails. Finalized a product launch. I learned how to mute myself in Zoom meetings just before my stomach rolled from nausea. My boss offered me flex time without asking questions. I think she knew. The soft kind of knowing where women don't say the word pregnant but buy you peppermint tea anyway. Meanwhile, I watched Ryan unravel from a distance. Savannah started posting cryptic quotes on her stories. One of them said, "A man who lies to her will lie to you too." With a black heart emoji. I didn't comment. I didn't message her. I waited. Because I'd noticed something about Ryan. He always ran when consequences knocked. But this time they were chasing him on 2 fronts, Savannah and me. One night, around midnight, I saw his name light up my phone. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my voice recorder and started documenting everything. Every time he called. Every text he sent. Every financial document I'd saved. Even the night he messaged me, "Need to talk." "You're being dramatic." I took screenshots. Uploaded them to cloud storage. I wasn't just healing now. I was preparing. But in the quiet moments, I still broke. One night I found myself lying on my back in the nursery, still empty, still painted the light gray we picked out together last fall, just staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow, silent loops. I felt hollow. Like my body was 2 seconds away from cracking open. I whispered into the dark, "What did I do wrong?" I didn't mean about Ryan. I meant all of it. The years I spent twisting myself to be easy to love. The silences I swallowed when I should have screamed. The way I smiled through dinner parties while he texted under the table. I hated that I missed him. I hated that I missed the version of him I made up just to survive the real one. And I hated that I still flinched every time someone said his name. A week later, I saw Savannah at a cafe. I was meeting Tina, but she was late. I stood in line rubbing my belly without thinking when a voice behind me said, "Melanie?" I turned. She looked different, no makeup, dark circles under her eyes, cardigan wrinkled like she'd slept in it. Savannah. The other woman. Except she didn't look like a villain. She looked tired. "I didn't know," she said, before I could speak. "He told me you broken up months ago. That you were crazy and clingy and still living in his place because you didn't have anywhere else to go." I didn't say a word. Just stared. "And now he's been ghosting me," she added. "Disappearing for days. Says he's working on himself." She laughed, but it was bitter. "I just thought, you should know. I didn't mean to hurt anyone." I nodded slowly. "He always runs when he has to take responsibility," I said quietly. She looked like she might cry. I didn't pity her, but I didn't hate her either. He used us both. That night, I opened a private blog, called it Quiet Motherhood. My first post was just 5 words, "You don't have to scream." It blew up. The next day, 10 comments. Then 30. Then hundreds. Women I'd never met told me they saw me. They shared their own stories, miscarriages, betrayal, single motherhood, rebuilding. I didn't even post my name, but somehow they knew my voice. It made me feel less alone. One morning I got a message from a new follower. "I found your blog by accident. I'm a single dad. My ex left when our daughter was 2 weeks old. I never talk about it. But your words cracked something open. Just wanted to say thank you." His name was James. We messaged back and forth for hours. He didn't flirt. He didn't ask for photos. He asked about cravings, back pain, favorite baby names. It was gentle. Real. For the first time in months, I smiled without guilt. That night, I ate peanut butter straight from the jar and listened to Nina Simone in the dark, one hand on my belly. And then it happened. Ryan found out. Through Instagram. Through a mutual friend. Through someone who reposted my blog on a local feed with a caption that said, "The strength in this woman's silence is unreal." At 1:14 a.m., he showed up outside my house, slamming on the door, yelling, "Melanie, what the hell? Are you serious right now? A baby? Why wouldn't you tell me?" I didn't open the door. I just stood there, heart pounding, baby turning inside me like she could feel the chaos. Then I spoke, softly, firmly through the door. "You lost the right to be at the center. This story is not about you anymore." Silence. Then footsteps. He left. And for the first time, I didn't feel afraid of what came next. 3 days after he showed up yelling in the dark, I got an email from his lawyer. Subject, paternity and visitation discussion. Tone, smug. The body read like a threat wearing a suit. He hoped we could be civil. He regretted the misunderstanding. He believed every child deserved to know their father. It was the first time he'd acknowledged the baby. Not to me, but through someone paid to intimidate. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to the firm I'd quietly hired 3 weeks earlier, the same day Tina's brother boxed up Ryan's things. The same day I realized I could be calm and still be dangerous. My lawyer's reply came fast. "Do not respond. We'll handle everything from here." It felt like exhaling after months of holding my breath underwater. A week later, Ryan requested an in-person conversation. He wanted to meet in private. He said we owed it to each other. That word again. Owed. I said, "We'll meet in a law office. With someone else in the room. That's the only way." He agreed. Not because he respected me, but because it was the only way he could keep pretending he was still in control. The office was cold. Neutral. A table, 2 chairs, a box of tissues. I wore a gray sweater and tied my hair back. No makeup. No armor. Just me and the baby turning slow circles inside my ribcage. Ryan walked in late. Of course he did. He wore sunglasses indoors and held a latte he didn't offer to anyone else. His face was tight, like he'd practiced a speech he wasn't sure he could deliver. He sat, smirked, and said, "So this is how it's gonna be?" I didn't flinch. "This is how it has to be." "I mean, I get it," he continued, like he was performing. "You're hurt. You want revenge. But shutting me out completely? That's cruel, Mel." I stared at him. Then I pulled out a folder. Inside, the financial records I'd collected. The screenshots. The texts. His other Instagram messages, some to women I didn't even know. "Cruel," I repeated, sliding it across the table. "You mean like cheating? Lying? Leaving me on my birthday in front of our friends? Mocking me while I held the news of our child in my body?" He froze. "This isn't revenge, Ryan. This is consequence." His mouth opened. Closed. He looked at the lawyer like maybe she'd bail him out. She didn't. I leaned forward. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to protect myself, my child, the future you forfeited when you chose ego over love." He didn't say anything. For the first time in our entire relationship, Ryan was silent. I stood up. "I'll let the lawyers handle everything else. But just so you know," I looked him straight in the eye. "She's a girl. Her name will be Aurora. And whether you show up or not, she will be loved." Fiercely. I left him sitting there, latte untouched, hands shaking just enough to notice. Outside, it was raining again. Seattle never stops. But I walked slow, head high. My steps felt solid, like they belonged to someone who'd reclaimed her ground. That night, I told my mom. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one where I'd once clutched that cruel birthday letter like a wound. I poured her tea. Her hands trembled when I said the words. I'm having a baby, Mom. A girl. I didn't tell you because I needed to feel strong first. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she reached across the table and took my hands. You are strong, she said, voice cracking. But you don't have to be alone. She moved in the next week. Not permanently. Just for a while. Just until the baby came. And somehow the house felt warmer again. Like it had forgiven me. Tina came by with paint swatches for the nursery. Sunrise yellow, soft rose, pale lavender. I picked lavender. She smiled, said it feels like her. And James kept writing. Every night, a new message. Little things. A picture of the swings he built for his daughter. A video of her saying good morning in a voice that made my heart ache. He never pushed. Never crossed lines. He was just there. Gentle. Real. Steady in a way I didn't know how to receive yet. Until one night, I asked him, do you believe in second beginnings? He replied instantly. Only every day. That was the first night I let myself hope out loud again. Hope that maybe I wasn't broken. Hope that this life, the one blooming through pain, through betrayal, through one cruel letter in a coffee shop, might still become something beautiful. There's a kind of silence no one warns you about, the silence after the storm, when everyone's gone home, the lawyer emails have stopped, and all that's left is the sound of your own breath. It was week 32 when I felt it the hardest. The nursery was done. Lavender walls, a white crib from a second-hand shop, a mobile of tiny stars I'd made by hand because crafting was cheaper than crying. My mom had gone back to her place to prepare for the birth. Tina was busy with her own life. And James. James was still there in the soft, glowing inbox of my blog. But I hadn't answered his last message. Not because I didn't want to. Because I didn't know if I deserved that kind of softness. I had everything handled. On paper. Appointments. Legal documents. A growing blog following of women who called me brave, even when I answered comments with tears on my cheeks. But inside, I was fraying. Some nights I'd sit on the floor in Aurora's room, knees pressed to my belly, whispering apologies. I'm sorry he won't be here. I'm sorry you'll never see him carry you on his shoulders. I'm sorry I picked a man who couldn't even stay for a birthday party, let alone a life. It wasn't guilt. It was grief. Grieving a version of motherhood I thought I'd have. One night, I stared at myself in the mirror for so long I stopped recognizing the woman looking back. My belly swollen, stretch marks like silver lightning bolts streaking across my skin. My eyes quiet, tired, but not empty. Not anymore. I whispered, you're still here. I meant me. I meant her. The baby kicked like she agreed. And still, the loneliness pressed in. He hadn't tried to reach out again. No calls. No letters. Just a photo of him I stumbled across accidentally at a bar opening, arm around a girl I didn't recognize, captioned, finally free. Free from what? Me? The baby? I closed the app. Threw my phone across the couch. It thudded into a pillow, harmless. But my hands were shaking. It was that night I finally called my therapist in the middle of a breakdown. She didn't ask what's wrong. She just said, let's breathe. And I did. I breathed through the fear. Through the anger. Through the memory of his laugh as he handed me that letter. She asked me to name one thing I'd done right this week. I said I made Aurora laugh. I think. She moved when I sang to her. And it was true. Even in the isolation, I wasn't really alone. She was there. Listening. Growing. Turning toward my voice in the dark. That night, I lit a candle. Lavender and honey. Sat in bed. Opened my blog. James had written again. No pressure to respond. Just wanted you to know we made cupcakes today. She called them sparkle cakes. I think you'd like them. And I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I smiled. Not for the world. Not for followers. Just for me. I didn't expect him to show up at the hospital. Not with balloons. Not with flowers. With a baby carrier on wheels still in the packaging, price tag attached, like fatherhood could be bought at checkout. Aurora was less than 12 hours old. My body still ached, soft and wrecked from the storm of labor. My hair was matted to my forehead. My hospital gown was stained. I hadn't even held my daughter for a full day yet, and there he was standing in the doorway with that fake grin I used to believe meant something. Thought I'd be a good dad and show up, he said. Tina stood up immediately. My mom didn't even acknowledge him. James, yes, James was there, stood in the corner, holding a coffee he brought for me, his eyes darkening as Ryan walked in like he owned the room. I didn't speak at first. Just looked at the carrier in his hand. He lifted it slightly like it was some prize. Figured you hadn't bought one yet. I have one, I said. Calm. Too calm. Yeah, but this one's nicer, he smirked. He placed it beside the hospital bed. Took out his phone. And I swear to God, he took a photo of me. Me. Swollen. Exhausted. Holding our daughter. He didn't ask. Click. Really? I said, voice low. You're here for a photo? He shrugged. Just wanted to remember this. She's beautiful. She's got my nose. She didn't. She had my nose. My cheeks. My mouth. And my fierce quiet fire. Ryan leaned forward like he was going to touch her. Then hesitated. Maybe it was the way James stepped closer. Maybe it was the way Tina stood like a wall between him and me. Maybe it was me not flinching. Not crying. Just staring. She's not your accessory, I said. He blinked. What's that supposed to mean? You don't get to pop in for photo ops. You don't get to vanish and reappear when it suits your ego. You left. And I let you. But you don't get to frame this like you're the hero returning from war. He glanced at James, then at my mom, then at Tina. You replaced me already? He asked, voice bitter. No, I said, looking down at Aurora, who yawned like she couldn't care less. You were never something I needed to replace. You were something I had to recover from. He didn't know what to say. He muttered something under his breath, turned and left. Didn't even take the carrier with him. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't ask for her name. That was the last time I saw him in person. Later I saw the photo on his Instagram. Just the back of my head. The caption, "Welcome to the world, little star. I'll always be there for you." The comment section was full of hearts. He was never there. Not for the appointments. Not for the back pain. Not for the panic attacks in the middle of the night. He showed up for 5 minutes. Took a photo. Left. And I realized something. He was never the villain. He was the vacuum. Always sucking the air out of the room. Always leaving people to choke on his absence. But I wasn't choking anymore. I was breathing. Fully. Freely. That night, James brought me a second coffee. Sat next to me. Didn't say anything. Just looked at Aurora and whispered, "She's magic." And I believed him. 9 months ago, I thought my life was about to start with a man who would finally see me. Instead, it started the day he left. Aurora is 6 weeks old now. She sleeps on my chest most nights, one hand curled in my shirt like she's reminding me, I'm real. We're real. We made it. Sometimes I cry when I look at her, but not from sadness. From awe. She doesn't know how much it took to get here. The court meeting came and went. Ryan agreed to terms through his lawyer but never showed up in person. His visitation rights were left unused. No birthday cards. No phone calls. Just silence, the kind I used to fear. Now a gift wrapped in absence. I changed the locks. I reissued the bills in my name. I painted over the last wall he ever touched in the apartment. It's a pale green now, peaceful. Like early spring. And the blog? Quiet motherhood. It exploded. Thousands of women. Single moms. Widows. Divorced. Abandoned. Women who stayed. Women who left. They wrote to me like they already knew me. And maybe they did. Because grief is a language. So is rising. And then there's James. He didn't come into my life like lightning. He came like sunrise. He never pushed. Never asked for more than I could give. He just showed up. With coffee. With soft words. With a daughter of his own who drew me a picture of 3 stick figures holding hands under a smiling sun. This is you, me, and baby Rory, she said. I hadn't told her Aurora's nickname. She just knew. We took a walk last Sunday, me, James, the girls. There were leaves everywhere, the kind that crunch when you step on them. Aurora was swaddled to my chest. His daughter rode on his shoulders, arms outstretched like wings. It wasn't a fantasy. It wasn't perfect. It was real. Steady. Good. I looked at him, and for the first time in a long time I wasn't waiting for the catch. I wasn't listening for a lie. I was just there, present. Whole. Unafraid. At night, when Aurora sleeps against me, I whisper stories into her hair. Not fairy tales. Truths. That love should feel safe. That kindness matters more than charm. that you are never too far gone to rebuild. And most of all, that people may leave you, betray you, try to define you. But they don't get to finish your story. I do. And this is only the beginning. I wasn't broken. I was becoming.